Have you ever noticed how the people we respect most are often the ones who make others feel valued? When was the last time you looked someone in the eyes and said, "Thank you," and truly meant it? Before we dive in, if you're on a journey to grow stronger mentally and emotionally, make sure to subscribe and join this community of self-improvement seekers. Today, we're exploring how gratitude isn't just kindness, it's strength. The more you appreciate others, the more respect naturally flows back to you. Let's uncover how Stoicism and gratitude can quietly transform your influence. 1. The hidden connection between gratitude and respect. Respect isn't demanded, it's earned, and gratitude is one of its most powerful foundations. The Stoics often taught that we cannot control how others perceive us, but we can control the character we display to them. Gratitude, when practiced consistently, becomes a quiet force that shapes how people view us, not as someone desperate for approval, but as someone aware of value, both in self and others. When you express sincere appreciation, you are not lowering yourself. You are recognizing the humanity in another person, their effort, their time, their contribution to your existence. In doing so, you elevate both of you. Gratitude, then, is not weakness. It is strength concealed in humility. To thank someone genuinely is to say, "I see you, and what you do matters." That simple act can dissolve tension, rebuild broken trust, and create a foundation of respect stronger than any demand for obedience could ever produce. Stoic thinkers like Seneca and Marcus Aurelius believed that the grateful mind is untouchable, not because it ignores difficulty, but because it sees clearly the good that remains even when much is lost. Gratitude is armor for the soul. It shields you from envy, comparison, and bitterness. When you are grateful, you no longer measure worth by what you lack. You measure it by what already exists. The person who lives in gratitude walks lightly through life, not weighed down by resentment or entitlement, and people sense that energy. They respect it, often without knowing why. It is rare to meet someone who is both humble and strong, both appreciative and disciplined. Gratitude produces that paradoxical power, a serenity that commands respect without ever asking for it. Modern life often confuses pride with dignity, but the Stoic view is that dignity grows from gratitude. When you're thankful, you don't need to prove your worth. You already know it. You become capable of respecting others without feeling smaller for doing so. The grateful person can admire someone's success without envy, can forgive without keeping score, and can offer respect without expectation. In this sense, gratitude is not just an emotion, it's a worldview, one that constantly reminds you that every interaction is an opportunity to give honor, not demand it. And as you give it, respect returns to you naturally, like a reflection in clear water. By practicing gratitude daily, you shift from entitlement to appreciation. You start noticing how much of your well-being depends on others. The stranger who held the door, the colleague who stayed late, the friend who listened when you needed silence. When you see those moments, your inner posture changes. You stop asking, "What do I deserve?" and start asking, "What have I been given?" This shift transforms relationships. People feel it. They trust you more because your gratitude reveals fairness, awareness, and depth of character. Over time, you find that respect no longer has to be pursued. It simply begins to orbit you, drawn to the calm certainty that gratitude creates. 2. Gratitude builds real influence. Influence doesn't come from titles, wealth, or authority. It comes from how people feel in your presence. The Stoics understood that leadership was not about domination, but about harmony, about guiding others through the example of a disciplined and grateful mind. A person who recognizes effort, even in the smallest of gestures, becomes magnetic. People want to follow those who make them feel seen and valued. Gratitude becomes the quiet architect of genuine influence. It requires no manipulation, no flattery, only awareness. When you take time to notice what others do well and you honor it without ulterior motive, you awaken something ancient and powerful, the instinct to reciprocate respect with respect. Think about the last time someone thanked you sincerely, not with casual politeness, but with real emotion. That single moment can linger in memory for years. It reminds you that your actions matter. You feel inspired to do even better, not out of obligation, but out of shared goodwill. This is the essence of Stoic influence, to move others not through fear or force, but through integrity and appreciation. The person who practices gratitude commands a kind of silent authority, one that cannot be revoked or faked. Others trust them because they sense no hidden agenda. Gratitude, then, becomes not just a social grace, but a form of leadership. In the Stoic sense, gratitude also refines your judgment. When you are grateful, you become less reactive, less easily angered or offended. You learn to pause and see the good intention behind imperfect actions. That patience itself makes you influential, because calmness under pressure is rare. People are drawn to those who remain composed when others lose balance. Gratitude sustains that composure by constantly reminding you of perspective. You already have more than enough. Every day is borrowed time, every encounter a lesson. With that awareness, you lead without arrogance, serve without resentment, and command respect without ever raising your voice. Ultimately, gratitude is a multiplier. It increases what you value by focusing your attention on it. A grateful leader amplifies loyalty because they build their influence on acknowledgement, not authority. The Stoic emperor Marcus Aurelius wrote often of thanking his teachers, his soldiers, his friends, reminding himself that no achievement was truly his alone. That humility was the source of his strength. To influence others, you must first master yourself, and nothing disciplines the ego like gratitude. It softens pride, opens empathy, and aligns action with virtue. The result is influence that lasts, not because it's imposed, but because it's earned through character. Wherever gratitude goes, respect and trust follow, quietly, steadily, unshakably. 3. Practical ways to cultivate gratitude. Start simple. Gratitude doesn't require ceremony, only awareness. Every day, find 3 people you can thank, but make those words real. Don't offer empty compliments or mechanical politeness. The Stoics believed in sincerity over spectacle. When you thank someone, mean it. Let your words reflect observation. Mention what they did, how it helped, and why it mattered. This level of awareness transforms gratitude from habit into art. A short message to someone who guided you, a quiet word of thanks to a coworker who stayed late, or a public acknowledgement of effort, these are small actions, but they ripple outward, strengthening bonds and deepening respect. Another way to cultivate gratitude is through nightly reflection. Before sleep, instead of reviewing what went wrong, recall what went right. This simple Stoic practice trains your mind to see life's gifts, even amid frustration. Write them down if you can. The meal you enjoyed, the kindness you received, the patience you showed. Over time, this nightly inventory builds emotional resilience. You start to see patterns, that even hard days contain grace, and that no experience is entirely without value. The mind that seeks gratitude in the small things becomes less disturbed by the large ones. You gain what Epictetus called inner freedom, the power to choose your response regardless of circumstance. Throughout your day, look for opportunities to appreciate effort rather than outcome. The Stoics warned against attaching happiness to results, which are often beyond our control. Gratitude shifts focus to what is within reach, the intention, the process, the courage to try. When someone fails but learns, thank them for their persistence. When a challenge arises, be grateful for the test itself, for it reveals your strength. This mindset not only builds humility, but also trains the mind to endure hardship with grace. Gratitude turns obstacles into teachers and discomfort into discipline. Finally, make gratitude visible. Say it aloud, write it, show it. Stoicism isn't about suppressing emotion, but refining it into virtue. Expressing thanks reminds others and yourself that you live consciously, that you see life not as a series of demands, but as a collection of gifts. Gratitude strengthens relationships, calms anxiety, and cultivates respect wherever it is practiced. Over time, it becomes not just something you do, but who you are. To live with gratitude is to live with strength, perspective, and peace. And as the Stoics knew, that combination is the true foundation of both respect and happiness. For a real-life example, the CEO who leads with gratitude. There's a story that circulates in leadership seminars and corporate retreats about a CEO who, despite overseeing a company of several thousand employees, somehow managed to remember nearly every name. At first, people thought it was a trick, perhaps a database, a clever assistant, or a photo recognition system. But it wasn't. He genuinely remembered them, and more importantly, he remembered what they contributed. Every time he passed through the office, he would stop to thank someone personally: the receptionist who handled a difficult call, the cleaner who stayed late after a product launch, or the junior developer who stayed up all night fixing a bug. His gratitude wasn't selective. It was constant and sincere. Employees began to notice that their work wasn't invisible, and that changed everything. The culture shifted. Motivation wasn't driven by fear of failure or pressure from above. It was fueled by a quiet sense of pride, the pride that comes from being seen and valued. What made this CEO extraordinary wasn't just his memory, but his mindset. In an industry where numbers often overshadow names, he chose to invert the hierarchy of value. While most leaders focus on strategy, profit margins, and quarterly targets, he focused on the heartbeat of the company, the people. He believed that appreciation was the most underused leadership tool in the corporate world, and he treated gratitude as a discipline, not a mood. At weekly meetings, instead of starting with problems or metrics, he would begin by acknowledging small victories and unseen efforts. This didn't make him naive or lenient. On the contrary, it made him respected. His gratitude didn't replace accountability, it amplified it. When people feel appreciated, they tend to hold themselves to a higher standard. They care about the outcome not because they fear reprimand, but because they respect the one who leads them. The results were measurable. Employee turnover rates plummeted, innovation surged, and customer satisfaction climbed. People described the workplace as human, a rare word in corporate surveys. Even competitors began to take notice, wondering what secret formula fueled the company's resilience. The truth was simple: appreciation scales. A single thank you, authentically given, can ripple across departments, shaping attitudes and influencing interactions far beyond its original moment. When the CEO thanked one person, that person tended to thank another, creating a chain of acknowledgement that slowly redefined the company's internal culture. Gratitude became contagious. Meetings became less about ego and more about effort. Collaboration replaced competition. What's most striking is that this CEO never saw gratitude as a performance or a leadership technique. It was a reflection of his worldview. He often said, "You can't build trust from a pedestal." To him, gratitude was the act of stepping down, of standing beside those who work for you, not above them. His leadership wasn't about command, it was about connection. By thanking others, he created a shared sense of ownership, reminding everyone that leadership is not about having followers, but about creating more leaders. And the deeper lesson here isn't just for CEOs, it's for anyone who leads, teaches, mentors, or influences others in any capacity. Gratitude is not soft, it's not sentimental, it's strategic. It transforms organizations, teams, and relationships because it does what authority alone never can. It builds loyalty that can't be bought or demanded. When leaders value people, they don't just build teams, they build trust, and trust is the foundation of every enduring success. 5. Stoic wisdom, strength and appreciation. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." In that single sentence, the emperor captured a truth that many modern leaders overlook. Gratitude is not passive acceptance, it's active awareness. It's the discipline of seeing life not as an entitlement, but as a gift. For the Stoics, gratitude was not about counting blessings, it was about recognizing reality. Everything we possess, from our health to our opportunities, exists within the fragile balance of chance and time. When you understand that, you stop taking people and moments for granted. You stop acting as though the world owes you and start realizing how much you owe the world. This is why gratitude to the Stoics was strength. It grounded them against arrogance and kept their emotions anchored in clarity. Marcus Aurelius, despite ruling an empire, constantly reminded himself of impermanence. He thanked the universe not for luxury or comfort, but for the chance to serve, to do his duty well, to think rationally, to act justly. Gratitude for him was a form of discipline, a way of staying aligned with virtue. When he faced betrayal or hardship, he didn't respond with bitterness. He responded with perspective. He would reflect, "They act according to their own understanding. It's up to me to act according to mine." That is Stoic gratitude, not ignoring faults or failures, but appreciating the opportunity to practice patience, wisdom, and restraint. It's easy to be grateful when things are going well. It's much harder and much more powerful to be grateful when life tests you. That's the essence of strength and appreciation. Modern Stoicism continues this tradition, teaching that gratitude is not weakness, it's clarity. It clears away the fog of entitlement that clouds judgment and inflates ego. When you practice gratitude, you're not surrendering ambition, you're refining it. You stop chasing validation and start seeking purpose. The Stoics understood that power and possessions are temporary, but character endures, and gratitude is what preserves character. It prevents success from turning into arrogance and failure from turning into despair. When you are grateful, your focus shifts from what you lack to what you can give. That shift creates resilience, the kind that endures hardship without resentment and meets triumph without vanity. In leadership, Stoic gratitude becomes a stabilizing force. When you appreciate your team, your time, and your challenges, you lead with perspective instead of pressure. You inspire through composure instead of control. Gratitude transforms how you interpret adversity. Every obstacle becomes a teacher, every setback a lesson in humility. This is why Epictetus said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." Such joy doesn't arise from naivety, but from wisdom, the understanding that appreciation is the root of serenity. Through gratitude, you learn that respect isn't taken, it's inspired. It grows not from authority, but from authenticity. And when you embody that mindset, you don't just lead others, you elevate them. Gratitude, in the Stoic sense, is not a reaction, it's a revelation. The realization that strength is not measured by how much you control, but by how much you appreciate. Today, take action. Express gratitude to 3 people, no matter how small the reason. Watch how it changes your day, your relationships, and your sense of inner peace. Because the truth is simple, when you live with gratitude, respect follows naturally.